Hello, welcome back to another interview. I'm very excited for today's guest, and he's already laughing at me for making this so official over here. But today we are blessed to have Jeff VanZant come and speak to us. For those of you that don't know Jeff is one of our elders here and has been here for a little while at Union Hill in different capacities. And we'll hopefully be able to learn a little bit about those. But Jeff, thanks for coming in. I know this is different to have to come and do, but appreciate you taking your time today to come talk. So I'll just open up kind of the first question. We're going through history and testimonials. And so just tell us a little bit about what your life was like growing up.
Well, I was born in North Kansas City Hospital, so I'm Missouri born and bred, although we didn't stay there very long. Moved to Wichita, Kansas when I was 6 months old. Before I was born, and this kind of goes back to Mom and Dad, after my older brother was born in 1958, I believe, Mom said, we got to go to church somewhere. She was raised in the Christian church tradition, but they didn't attend very often. And Dad really was kind of unchurched, so we thought. And so they started looking, and they ended up at a Church of Christ in Liberty, Missouri. And were taught by a man named Glenn Hackler, and that's the start of our immediate family's church tradition. But I grew up for the first 6 years in Wichita, Kansas. Don't remember much of that. It's a long time ago. But then we moved to a little town called Mulvane. And Dad had bought a house that had been empty for 20 years. It was pretty much a wreck, and he poured a lot of effort and turned it into a great place to grow up. So, and he's still there all that time. It's 1969 when he moved there.
Wow.
And he's still in that house.
Still at the same house.
Still in the same house. Great place to grow up. Big old wood frame house, 2 stories, places you could get away from people and places you could be with people. Big tree in the backyard, had room for a dog. And so I grew up in a small town, 3,000 people, less than that at that time, but did the old school growing up of be home by dark type of things. So one of your questions was, what'd you do for fun? And it was about anything outdoors.
Okay.
Swimming, any kind of sports, you pick up games at basketball or baseball or whatever. Did play Little League. I was never really big enough to be on school football teams or anything like that. And Mom didn't really want me doing that stuff anyways.
A little protected.
A little bit, I was on the 9th grade football team, and after Dad saw me play, he's like, you don't have to worry about him, Marge. He's not going to get in the middle of anything. So I lined up way outside. They never threw the ball to me, Yeah. I was just out on the field.
You were safe out there.
I was. Never got hurt. Played sports then. So, but it was a great place to grow up. Had a small congregation there in Mulvane that we attended. When Mom and Dad went to Wichita, they went to a congregation called El Pico. And then when we moved to Mulvane, we started going to Mulvane. And we did the whole Church of Christ era type activities, the Joy Bus. For those of you who don't know what a Joy Bus is, that's a bus that we went around, picked up kids, and we sang songs on the bus. We took them to Bible class, took them to church, and then dropped them off back home. And it was an evangelistic outreach, because you could send stuff home with the kids, and sometimes the parents were interested, sometimes they just wanted Sunday mornings off, but it was a good time, a rich time, the Jesus, Others, and You bus. So as a probably 12, 13-year-old, I was busy leading singing and trying to wrangle 4-year-olds.
Hard to do both of those at the same time.
It is. But there was my older brother, my older sister, and me. We worked with Mom and Dad on the Joy Bus. And so, we had a lot of those kinds of experiences. Mom and Dad believed in in doing things and being involved. And if there was a hole, they were ready to plug it. They were ready to plug it with us if necessary. So
You were the filler.
there were times where I'm sure there were people who wish somebody else would volunteer. And it taught me a lot of things about not waiting to be asked to volunteer for something, or to see if you see a need, just go take care of it. Now we have a lot of people at this congregation, and we have a lot of areas that maybe not everybody sees. And so, there are times where if you're waiting for somebody to actually see, go make it official, go find somebody, how's this going to work? There's times where, it's pick up your shovel and go dig the hole. And that was Dad's ethic, and I guess he passed it down to me, because that's kind of how I feel about things too. It's like, if I know how to do something, I'm just going to get my hands dirty.
Yeah.
I did follow in my dad's footsteps as far as vocation. To get to that, we got to go through some of the other stuff, I guess, because when I was in high school, I was baptized fairly early. We've had some recent baptisms, and some of them kids look pretty young, and I look back and I think I was younger or as young as some of them, and I fully believe that my baptism was a valid baptism. I think I knew what I was doing. But you ask in one of your questions is, how did you come to the Lord? And mine started, I would say, of course it's Bible school and all that. But one of the real catalyst for it was my dad was going to go on a door knocking campaign with a guy named Ivan Stewart. Now, a lot of people don't even know who Ivan is, but he went worldwide on these 2-3 week campaigns, and he used a set of pamphlets called the Open Bible Study, the OBS studies, and there was a red one and a blue one and a yellow one and a green one. And there were probably 30, 40 questions on each of these pamphlets. Well, one of Ivan's requirements to go on these campaigns was you had to draw stick figure illustrations for each question, so that while you were teaching somebody, you could visually give them something to look at. So my dad, instead of him doing all of it himself, sat us all down at the table, when I was about 9, 10 years old, and as a family, we went through these and helped him come up with the illustrations for some of these questions.
Okay.
And in doing so, I went through the Open Bible Study.
Yeah.
Well, Ivan came to the little church Mulvane had and presented a sermon, and the name of the sermon was Open Heart Surgery. I remember it. And it worked.
Effective sermon.
It was. I was convicted. And one of the funny things about that was I ended up, there were some older gentlemen that weren't sure it was appropriate age. I was ready.
Yes.
And I spent about an hour being interviewed.
Oh, okay. Intense.
Before they would baptize me. Wow. And I appreciate that in a certain way, that it is a serious thing. It's a serious commitment. It's part of the growth process. But when I was in high school, I would guess the easiest way to say it is I had drifted away a bit. Not from attending, not from looking like it, but my heart was not where it needed to be. And my actions weren't where they needed to be either. And right after I graduated high school, I got sick with mono. Really sick. Like, go to bed for 3 weeks, don't move or your spleen will break type of thing. And so I laid in bed, and the previous probably 4 or 5 years, I had been to Wyoming Bible camp every summer. And I really wanted to go back up there. And it was in that restriction time. And I begged the doctor, I begged mom and dad, and I ended up flying up there and going to Bible camp. Well, I couldn't do any of the sports. I was supposed to be very calm. So basically, I would climb up a mountain after Bible class in the morning and sit on the mountain. And I decided I wasn't going the direction that I wanted to go, that I needed to go, and I needed to do something drastic, so to speak. And so on the way home, I called mom and dad and said, I think I'm going to go to AIM in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
No money raised, no big plan, no idea who was down there. But my sister had been in it. And she was in Africa at the time. She just got over there. And she went to Botswana. And so in 2 weeks, we kind of raised enough money for me to pay the rent and packed enough bags and drove down to Lubbock, Texas to go to the AIM program, Adventures in Missions, there at Sunset School of Preaching. And
this was right after you graduated high school?
This was the following fall.
Okay.
Yeah. It's basically a 2-year commitment. You have your 6, now it's I think 9 months of school, and then 1.5 to 2 years out in the field. And so I ended up in Lesotho, Africa after the school time, and fully enjoyed my time as a kind of a short-term missionary over there. There were 3 missionaries when we got there, and by the second month, there was one left. Both of them went home with extended family problems, mother-in-laws and health issues. And so we were left with one missionary, and he really didn't want to be our coordinator.
Oh.
And there were 9 of us. So it was a big
job.
Big bunch of 20-year-olds, actually younger than that, most of us. And I love the man dearly, but he didn't sign on for being our boss, so to speak,
3 to 1
babysitter and everything that a coordinator has to do. But we didn't want to go home either. And so my best friend, Chris Smith, who ended up as director of AIM, as it would happen later on, and I decided we would coordinate our activities. And so we had a chalkboard up, and we would write our schedules, and we made everybody have something on the schedule for the day, and away we went. Now, the elders at Sunset had a conversation with our remaining missionary, and they were trying to decide if they were going to bring us home because they knew he didn't want to be the coordinator. And so 3 of them came over, including the director of the school. Well, later on, we hosted Klein Payton up here. He was at Sunset for a meeting, and he stayed at our house, and he's like, we fully intended to bring you guys home.
They were coming to get
They were coming to get us. But he said, I sat there and I watched you guys work. And he said, and that's what you were doing, was working. So age was immaterial to the want to and the ability. Now, sometimes it just wouldn't work, and there have been teams that couldn't, but ours was effective, and we found a peace with our coordinator that didn't want to be our coordinator, and he was relieved of some of the pressure of the planning and the different things that he didn't particularly care to do, and we handled that internally, and that taught me some things.
Yeah,
a lot of things.
Has to.
It taught me that. Well, a couple of things is it taught me that my ideas aren't always the best ideas. And,
a humbling lesson.
Well, it's a true lesson. And that maybe I should be quiet for a while and let some of the quieter voices speak first. Taught me that one because, I can be fairly, I don't know, aggressive's not the right word, but fairly. It sounds like I'm being insistent sometimes whenever I'm just presenting my idea.
I like to say I'm assertive.
That's a good word. Well, let's go with that word. I can be fairly assertive.
Yeah.
Okay, I just used it. But it quieted some of the voices and some of the input for maybe a better idea or an alternative I've never even thought of. And so I learned that some of the nurturers and the medics of the team, so to speak, could get their voice heard and represented. And so that was an important time in just my learning on leadership roles and different things like that.
And what a cool experience because I think what you said earlier, like you got baptized at a young age, and what happens to so many teenagers and young Christians of being able to, we're going to church, we're checking those boxes, but we know our hearts, we're not doing the right things outside of the church life. And so to be able to come to that recognition of had an actual mountaintop high experience at camp and being like, I need to do something with this.
And it's a continual process too. I wrote some notes down, about how many times, that internally I've had to rededicate myself. And whether it's the big changes in life, having kids, and all of a sudden your role isn't just husband anymore. It's not just provider anymore. It's, okay, I've got to raise this child. I need help, God.
Absolutely.
I need help, family. I need help, church. But there are all these seminal moments in your life that you can look back at where, a decision I made on a mountain to go to Africa affects the way I think about missions now in a way that I do missions now. It's one of those things. Whenever I was young, my dad, after he was converted and moved to Wichita, if there was ever a visiting missionary, they stayed in our house. I mean, we had people from Africa, from the Netherlands, from all over the place. He believed go into the world and meant all of the world. Yeah. And he loved that idea. And it's a blessing to me because, it opened me up to the idea of foreign missions as well. But the way we used to do missions wasn't the most cost-effective thing. And some of it was necessary just to get the start, to get the church planted in places. But like our Ivan over in Greece right now, I'd much rather have a national or a local be a missionary.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to relocate them.
Yeah.
They already know the language. There's so many
in Alexi's case,
things.
like 2 languages, right?
Yeah. Well, even more than that, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so that's where, while I was in AIM, I saw either, the short-term mission stuff, which we translated into going to Mexico, doing the building projects, enabling locals to be evangelist and evangelistic. Now, were they evangelistic? Sure they were. We had people that came to Christ because of those Mexico trips, because they saw what you do with your hands makes a difference to the kingdom. And what you do with your dollars, it helps in the translation of how do I speak truth to these people. If they don't see me live it, then the message is lost.
Yeah.
So these moments that of hosting missionaries or being a short-term missionary or seeing the value of a local has really formed a lot of my thinking in the missions area now. And that's why I'm so excited about Dino and Alexi and the Greek project. But as far as the rededication, it's almost that renewing of the mind whenever a new season comes along. And sometimes it's it's a little shocking whenever you look back at, okay, I can see these seasons, and whether it's marriage, whether it's kids, whether it's career, whether it's retirement, which I'm retired now, it opens up a chance to re-examine and to rededicate. And there are times where it's like, okay, I needed to cut that out.
Yeah.
And so that part's pretty cool.
And that idea of, I think rededication is such a good word for, or like a renewal of vows is kind of how I picture it. You said like early on, like, I believe my baptism was valid. I didn't feel the need to get rebaptized, but there was rededications in time where you were purposeful of, as like married couples will go through the renewal of vows every once in a while. And are they still married before they renewed their vows? Yes, they're still as married as they were before, but they've rededicated themselves. And I think that's great for all of us as disciples of Christ to reevaluate where we're at in our walk and being able to say, my life's a lot different now with kids, or after coming back from the mission field, or change in career, or getting over an illness that has happened. And to be able to say, Lord, I need to rededicate to you. I know I'm still in your kingdom, but I've not been acting it.
Yeah. That if we don't do that, then we're probably not doing the examine yourself and test yourselves to see if you're in the faith type scriptures that he advises us to exercise. There's a scripture in Jeremiah that says, if you seek me, you will find me. And there's been times where the seeking part hasn't been as active, maybe. And I don't think this is a one-time event. He was talking to the children of Israel and talking about Babylon and some different things. But I think in our lives, there are times where we are not as open to, I won't say I hear voices or anything, but to the scripture speaking to us, to a lesson speaking to us, to a mentor that says something that they might not even know affected you as much as it did, because we're not seeking for that. And then whether it's trauma, death of a loved one, economic problems, usually it's all on the downward end that you're like, okay, something's out of balance here.
Yes.
And you start seeking, and God should be one of them that we seek for balance and for peace. And I've lived a life of pretty good, and there have been times where the seeking part hasn't been as intentional as it probably should be. But I believe in that verse. I believe if we seek God, he'll come get us.
Yeah.
He'll send the message. He'll send the messenger. Whether it's a book, whether it's a poem, whether it's, a blue sky that strikes you. And, usually it's in scripture that I find that. But there have been books that have come along at just the right time, so to speak, that I needed to read for my family's sake, for my sake, that bears that scripture out.
Yeah.
If you seek me, you'll find me.
Being ready to see where God is and being prayerful of that, like even in my own life, of having those times where I'm like, God, like how's the ministry doing that we're here at church? Like what more can I be doing, or is it going the right way? And like being very prayerful of like, God, what is this you're wanting it to be? And like all during that week, it was just person after person that was just so encouraging to me. And I was like, okay, you didn't know I needed to hear those words, but I like truly think God used his spirit to bring people into talking to my life of like, hey, it's going well. Like, quit worrying about all those little things that you're worried about. Just be content with the work that is happening.
Well, there's certainly those moments. But there's also the ones where you look back and you're like, how didn't I hear that?
You were yelling at me and I missed it.
Somebody screaming at me. I don't understand what they're saying. But I have enjoyed good mentors in my growth in Christianity, and my growth as when we came to Union Hill. they asked me if I would be a deacon, and had a discussion with the elders, and agreed. And so I was a deacon of missions for Union Hill at the beginning. Try to raise money for AIM kids. Ben DeVat, we sent him to AIM. He was one of our first ones. The Mexico thing was always a big deal, but mostly we paid our own way for all that. James and Nancy have been a big plus to our missions program because they had connections in Thailand.
Yeah.
And we've had a long relationship with some Thailand people and ministers over there and work over there. You just got to open your eyes sometimes and say, okay, what are you trying to tell me?
Yeah. When you ask to seek God, then you have to be ready to be like, oh, you're going in a direction that may have not been my plan.
There's a lot of that goes on in life. Paul, in his letters, talks about wanting to go to Macedonia, I think. He says, and the door was shut.
Yeah.
But he prays in Colossians that he has the strength to walk through the doors that are open. I don't think of Paul needing to pray for strength, but that's exactly what he says. That he's praying to take advantage of the opportunities, that he has the faith, the abilities, the different things that are involved to walk through those doors that God has opened for him.
For sure.
And that's a prayer that has been in my life. There's been times where I didn't know how it would happen. Sometimes it didn't happen. Sometimes I guess it was the other door that was shut. And, there are times where I put my head against it and pushed really hard and it just didn't open.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that it was a no.
Yeah.
But there are no's out there. But there's also yeses. And if we'll open our eyes and we'll take advantage of those opportunities, there's lots of yeses out there. Lots of things to do.
Well, and speaking to like opening those doors, I want to get into a little bit of like how you guys came to Union Hill and found Union Hill. But before that, your wife was ratting you out to me on some of the church history, because you spoke early on of like growing up in the Church of Christ. But that's not where it really began for your family, though, is it?
Well, it isn't. And I didn't know this part of the history probably till I was 35, maybe even 40. I don't know. Because Dad had a picture, and it's of a little old lady that's standing in a doorway of a Church of Christ, has a sign over the top of it that says Church of Christ. And my dad got a copy of that picture, but he didn't know who it was.
Just had it in the house.
Just had it in the house. And he also had another picture of some young men that are standing by horses. They're all in black suits. And so I think it was on the trip that I mentioned before where Kerry went down to Arkansas. He asked one of his cousins named Lucy Dell McIntyre, who is this person in the picture? And she said, that's your grandma.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. He's like,
who's this? That's Grandma.
That's Lucy Wade McIntyre.
Wow.
And that's the church building that her four brothers built on some land that another McIntyre had donated to the church. Anyways, the four brothers were all preachers.
Oh, wow.
Church of Christ preachers. And their dad was a Church of Christ preacher. And the legend has it that he was in the circuit rider kind of Church of Christ preacher. So Dad was doing the math backwards, and there's a chance that he was like at the Stone Campbell stuff at the very beginning. And so that was a bit of history that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is pretty cool. We didn't know about it. It wasn't, wasn't the story that I got when I was a kid. Okay, she ratted out on me, so I'm going to rat out on her.
There you go.
So in our stairwell at the house, we have a piece of wood, and I have a picture here, and Caleb can put that on there too, that she stole from that church building. It wasn't being used Sunday. Yeah, it wasn't being used as a church building, and Dad said she could get it. As a matter of fact, my dad helped her take it off. But it's actually off of the communion table. It's like a wooden piece, and we keep that at the house as a reminder that legacy isn't always directly passed. But somewhere in there, there was a desire for spiritual connection. And I'm glad of Jeremiah saying, if you seek, you'll find. Jesus says that too.
Yeah.
Seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open. And, there's some generations that got skipped where they went in the wilderness, so to speak. But like the children came home, we found our way home, it seems. We love the simplicity, the old country way. And so that's a pretty cool thing in our life.
Yeah, to be able to, not only in your own personal life, growing up in the church is such a blessing, to be able to start early on, but to look back at the generations before of like, man, my grandpa was a Church of Christ preacher. And even not knowing how far back the roots go of just the legacy of devotion to Jesus is pretty cool. As you said, there are those that go out into the wilderness, but to be able to know that the children can come home and be back in it is cool. So I just wanted to make sure we would share that because I thought that was pretty cool when I heard it. So let's talk a little bit about more, I guess I don't know how recent, I don't know how long you were the deacon, but how did you guys come to find Union Hill?
Find Union Hill. 1999, I would suppose. Joe and Vicki Bright invited Carrie and I over to have dinner. And they said there'll be a couple other people there. And we get there and are introduced to Steve and Amy Martin. Pre-kids. Amy might have been pregnant, actually. And Joe was like, this is who Rick thinks should be our preacher for the church plant. And Joe was in the very first class of AIM, him and Vicki. They went to Ireland. So Joe and I had a connection through that. And he knew my brother down in Memphis before he had moved up here to become the preacher up here. And so Joe and I had a relationship, very good friendship as well. And when we first started talking about the church plant, Joe came to me and said, he's like, I think this is something that you're going to want to do. And it took about 10 minutes, probably less than that, to be like, yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
I love Sunset. I love the foresight that the elders had there, that because of the landlocked situation they were in, the growth they'd experienced, the momentum that they had, that they weren't going to be able to contain the people that were attracted to that idea. And instead of letting it just pass them by, they bought this property where Union Hill is, and they said, "Okay, let's start building a staff."
Yeah.
Well, my wife was the first secretary, unpaid, and Steve, that was our staff, and he was basically a weatherman, but he'd been working with the church in Wichita Falls, and we found him to be very engaging. Carrie and I did, him and Amy, and enjoyed our dinner with him, and discussion with Joe afterwards, and with some of the folks at Sunset. It seemed like, well, we're going to be new, they're going to be new. There's a whole lot of new going on, and so we decided, before Steve and Amy actually had committed, that we wanted to be a part of what was going to happen down here. Our home was on the south. We're outside of Springfield on the south end, so we were driving to get to Sunset. We drive about the same distance to get here. So geography wasn't working against us that way. but the thought of getting to plant something was pretty cool. So I'm going to bring up an illustration that might sound weird. It's something that is pretty fresh to me that I've been thinking about, and I probably haven't fully developed this, but
Workshopping it here.
Workshopping it here. I got hearing aids about a month ago. I didn't, I worked in construction, around a lot of loud stuff, built elevators, a lot of high pitched stuff, and I knew that over the years my hearing wasn't as great as it used to be, and so I decided, and my wife concurred, that I should get tested and see if hearing aids were something that I needed. Turns out they were. Not horribly, but week and a half later, they show up. The guy puts them in, does his tweaking on his laptop, and I'm sitting there going, I do not like the way this sounds. And he said, that's because you're hearing things you haven't heard for a long time. And when I look back, that's kind of how I think about why I wanted to go to Union Hill on the church plant. Because there was some things I needed that I hadn't had in a long time, and I'd forgotten the excitement of new stuff, or discovering a ministry, or going to bed after a hard day's work, type of thing. It was a chance to refresh some of those old feelings, some of those old motivations, it was another rededication, so to speak, of renewal. I still don't like the hearing aids. It makes the high pitches, which probably have been there all along. But I know I'm hearing a truer sound. And that's what I want. Whether I like it or not, with my church family. I want the true sound. I want to hear when it hurts, even though that hurts.
Yeah.
I want to hear the rejoicing too.
Yeah.
But I want to hear the true sound of the struggle, of the victory, of the everyday life, and there are so many times where it just becomes noise that unless you're intentional, you tune it out. And, I don't want to be hard of hearing when it comes to church. And so I'm working on that illustration. Whether that came off right or not, I don't know.
I think it's a good one and I think it goes back to your history of reason you found Union Hills, because there was something new and it was a mission. Right?
It was a mission.
There was a planting and the newness that was happening. And when you had your first rededication back in high school, you wanted something new and to go and plant seeds in the world that your dad had found to be, with all the mission work there, that was ingrained into you almost growing up in life. And so to be able to find Union Hill and be like, I can do the mission work and get my hands dirty, because if no one's doing it, then the church isn't growing with the plants.
Talk about open doors and the right times. It was here. Christian County was the fastest growing county in Missouri. Nixa was one of the fastest growing populations. We had an opportunity with the property, with staff, with a lot of people who wanted to get their hands dirty. Carrie and I were going through pictures for the
25th
anniversary thing this morning, getting in hard drives, getting in old tubs full of hard pictures, but mostly everything's digital. But we saw people that we hadn't even thought about for several years that did things for this new church plant, because everybody that came over there came over knowing they needed to do something. And one of the things, and this was the blessing of the Mexico missions, was that people figured out that there are times where a hammer is God's tool, or a paintbrush, or whatever their vocation is. It's one of the reasons I love Union Hill, is emphasis on ministries and the doing of things for not just our people, but serving people. The auto ministry. Who we got doing that? We've got girls, teenage girls, all the way up to old guys.
Yeah.
And some of them are learning, but all of them want to get their hands dirty and do something for somebody else. And there's dozens, literally, of ministries that are like that, that have people have figured out service can be changing oil. Service can be collecting clothes and washing clothes to give away in the clothes closet. Service can be any number of things. It doesn't always have to be sitting across the table having a Bible study with somebody. Certainly we have those opportunities as well. But
yes,
relationship-wise, is very important to have life together as well. And some of us aren't very good at some things, but we are good at fixing things. And there's plenty of opportunity to visit and to encourage and to do something somebody else may have a hard time doing with our physical hands, and they lift you up with their spiritual hands at the same time.
For sure.
And encourage you as you encourage them.
Yeah. And it's one of those places that I think is great to see. Union Hill has grown from just people's ideas and turned into something that is a blessing for the community and the world at large. Started with just one person's idea for, hey, we're told that we need to feed people. And so how can we do that here? We were told that we need to clothe and take care of the kids. And so how can we do that here? And seeing that grow into, man, I can't take care of my car. I can change the oil and a tire, and that's about it with my car. If it's anything past that. So I'm thankful for a church that has those opportunities to be able to, man, if I know I need my brakes to be fixed and repaired, or not repaired, but just replaced, probably more than likely, I can come and have it done here. Or even those that I need medical. Like, we have so many things that happen here because of people that wanted to get their hands dirty and outside just the Bible study, as you said. And so looking kind of at that, one of the questions I always like asking people is, where do you would want Union Hill to grow even more? We're growing and doing pretty great things already, but what would be some areas that you would be like, I would love to see this even move to the next stage? We are such a rich congregation as far as our age brackets. We don't have this desert of 40-year-olds or whatever. We certainly don't have a desert of babies because we've got a lot of youngins coming in. Yeah, go down to the basement during kids' classes and you'll see that.
Yeah, our pyramid structurally, as far as is more like a building, vertical, with square walls, age brackets all the way from the 90s down to the babies. We have a richness in all of that, and that's one of the things that I want to see continue is the diversity of age and the interaction of age. I mentioned the auto ministry because that was a real easy one to pick on because, like I said, we've got teenage kids out there working with experienced mechanics and then even retired people that are out there mixing for 4 hours, helping each other, whether it's handing tools, whether it's learning how to do brakes or how to do this or that, or just sitting there relaxing and watching somebody else work and eating your donut, which that's my job, just so everybody knows.
Supervisor.
That part I really love.
Yeah.
The part that always has concerned me, that we could do better at or we could grow at, is keeping people invested in the church. and it's hard to keep up with everybody. It takes everybody to keep up with everybody, and one person can't manage everybody. You don't have time in the day or the week or the year to get around to everybody. But if we watch out for our brothers and sisters and we invite them to things and we make sure that they know they're valued and that there is a place for them. Sometimes the place here is to heal up. Sometimes it is to go to work. But there is also a time to sit and to
have your donut.
That's the good healing up. But there are times where the world damages you. Sometimes the church damages you. It's a hard thing to say. But sometimes we need to heal and let God speak to us. Let our brothers and sisters speak to us. Let the singing speak to us and the prayers and to heal up. I went through a time of that after my mom passed away. I didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
I was an elder. And my brothers, fellow elders, picked me up and said, take some time. And, rest. You don't have to teach class. Take a minute. And those times are important because there is a time to sit and be quiet and to let somebody minister to you. I wrote down Ephesians chapter 4, verses 11 through 16. Ephesians is a great book. I know Michael referenced chapter 3 whenever he was here. But chapter 4, 11 through 16 talks about he gave some to be this is and that's, apostles, teachers, pastors. And then it goes into a discussion of body and maturity. And one of the things that I would always, and if you asked me this 10 years ago, if you ask me this 10 years from now, I will reference that same scripture because the growth towards maturity never ends. Now, are we a mature body? I think we are. I think we're healthy. I think we have good leadership. I think we have men coming up that will be good leaders as well. I don't worry about, who's this going to be passed off to. I see men that are in their 40s and early 50s and even younger than that are on the pathway towards deacons and elders, great fathers, working people, people who have invested in Union Hill. And it's a real blessing to look and see quality men are doing things. And I don't want to just say quality men and women that have invested their lives in service to God. Union Hill has been blessed over the years in the 25 years that we've been around. I look at my life and, dial-up telephones and, rotary phones. You don't even know what a rotary phone is.
I'm not. I played with them as a kid at my grandparents' house.
Played with them, yeah.
Did never have to actually use one.
But if you think about the last 30 years of technology changes, the opportunities that they presented us, and the opportunity for service that has expanded, whether it's online services, the video part of it, the audio part of it, the arranging things, it's presented an opportunity there. The amount of information for studying the Bible is immense. It used to be you had to have a book, and who could have all the books? Now you got them all.
Yeah.
Or access to them. And it's an opportunity. And we have lots of opportunities. So taking opportunities is always one of the things that I like to encourage people to do. And so, if there was a spot where we needed to grow, hope that nobody's scared of saying, hey, what about this?
Yeah.
Now, whether it happens or not, I don't know. It's certainly worth the conversation of what about this? And so, if anybody's been hesitant to approach us as elders or to somebody else to present an idea because it didn't work somewhere else or they thought they'd be shot down or whatever, I hope they grow in confidence that we are open and we are open to new ministries or things that we haven't done.
And I like the idea of, like, as you said, we are kind of more of a square than a pyramid with our age brackets.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of opportunities within to grow those connections.
Yeah.
Of not having the separation of ages so much, to be able to grow in facilitating activities like the auto ministry is one. I think VBS is a great example of seeing little kids and older people singing and dancing to silly songs and learning about the fruits of the Spirit. But also one of the things that you mentioned that I think Union Hill does really well is what you led into of giving people a place that they need at the time that they're at. Of, man, we need workers. We need to spread the kingdom. That's what we're here for. But also, sometimes you need rest. And sometimes you need a place to just recover from the trials that life has thrown at you. And as you talked about with the passing of parent and us experiencing that ourselves with the loss of our son, working here at the church, the elderships and the members completely coming to our aid and being like, no, we got it. Just rest for a while. And you're good here. We want to be the church that is not just demanding of you, but also we want to pour into what you need at those times as well. That way you can go back and give later when you are recovered and rested, because it is hard to run on an empty tank.
It's very hard to run on an empty tank. And all of us at times will run out. Mm-hmm. There's some people that seem like they never do, but they do.
Yeah.
And it may be a rare thing, but there are times where you need to sit in the quiet, the Psalms 23 stuff.
Yeah.
There are valleys, there are hard times, and there are times of renewal. And, you realize the Lord is walking beside you, and so are your brothers and sisters, even though sometimes it's hard to see that.
Yeah.
One of the things, and I want to throw this out, that we're talking at the end of your questions, what is your favorite part? And it's hard to answer. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things written down. Because there's not one favorite part. It's life here at Union Hill. But I have ministry, because we started off with the slogan of every member is a minister. And while we might not have it on a billboard, we still want to have that attitude that we can be of service to our brothers and sisters and to our community and to our God through the things that we do, whether it's changing oil or whether it's giving food out or whether it's having a Bible study. That ministry is many different things. It's life in the Spirit. It's letting your life be worship and offering that up to God. Whatever my hands can do, whatever my mind can do, should be ministry. And I think we have many people here that do that. I mean, Michael referenced it. There isn't a time that you can come up to the building during the week. There's not cars in the parking lot.
Yeah.
When I drove up here, there was probably 10 cars out, because I believe either the Wings group or our seniors, that the Schnockenbergs were taking them somewhere.
Is it their movie time right now?
It might be movie day. I don't know. But there's always something going on.
Yeah.
Whether it's the food pantry and clothes closet, whether it's like the auto ministry will be on Saturday in a couple of weeks. The counseling services, I can't leave them off the list. I think those have been an immense blessing to Union Hill as far as being able to help some of our members through personal challenges, marital challenges, figuring out life, and you know, it's not just Diz or Linda. You know, we've got Jessica doing the living forward stuff. We've got, you know, we had Nita doing the grief recovery. You know, it's been part of Union Hill. This, okay, we know this is a broken world, and sometimes we don't know how to deal with that. And maybe talking to somebody that can listen and can offer some insight can help me get through this. You know, it's one thing to open the book and read it. And it's another to have somebody who is trained help explain some of it. You know, I love reading books. I read a lot. I always have all my life. Probably started whenever the TV broke when I was like 4 years old, because they didn't replace it.
Okay.
So I grew up without a TV.
Had to find something else.
Yep. From the time I was 4 on, until actually I left home, Mom and Dad never got a TV. And so I read. I loved history books. I loved, you know, all sorts of reading. And I love reading the Bible. But there are times where a Bible class that I'm sitting in, a brother or sister will make a comment that I'm like, I have never heard that in my life. That is the greatest thing I've ever heard today, you know, because whether it's perspective, experience, you know, sit at Russ's feet and it's Greek,
Yeah.
you know, and what does that say in the Greek? You know, there are people with abilities beyond mine. Certainly in the counseling business, there's lots of people beyond mine. I'm a hammer kind of guy, you know, I hit it, you know, move that metal. And people aren't like that. You know, whether it's inflection, whether it's the way they communicate, you know, there are people that are trained and have insights and abilities that I love that we've allowed to flourish here at Union Hill. And I want to see that continue and to grow as well. I love the Bible base that we have, you know, our Hilltop kids going all the way through the book. I love that. I love the Hilltop kids, the fact that when you walk through those halls down there, you see teachers of every age.
Yeah.
I mean, all the way from teenagers all the way up into their 80s. Some of them are pushing walkers. Some of them are on oxygen. You know, I do the kindergarten class, or actually, I think we're in pre-K this year. I try to do it a quarter every year, partly so I can learn their names, because there is a whole raft of them come up, and, you know, it's hard to keep up.
Yeah.
But I have such a good time down there. And so the Bible class and the Bible teaching that we get from the pulpit and from our adult teachers, that's what feeds us, is the book. And we have men and women who have poured their time and efforts, and I love that you know, we have something for everybody, the beginner all the way up to the Greek student, you know, and they can have discussions and they can learn and they can share. Relationships. I was looking at those pictures and thinking about how many people have gone on before us, which I wrote down legacy as well. But we had men and women here of that were elders at other places that didn't want to be an elder here, but they shared the knowledge. They shared some of their experience. They shared some of the burden with the elders and getting this started and absorbing, you know, 63 different views, because that's what we started with.
Yeah.
And in the first year we had, you know, we probably had 20 different areas of the country represented that had flooded in here and decided Union Hill was going to be the place they went. You know, everything from, you know, the Bible Belt people to the California people to the East Coast people to, you know, we had all sorts of these that all brought their history with them, but in another sense set it aside to become a part of this history.
Yeah.
And that was, as you would say, super cool.
I would say that.
I know. I've heard you say that. But it was, you know, that we would at times yield our own traditions for the comfort of others, knowing that it was just a tradition. But we also held on to some of the very richest of the Church of Christ traditions and practices that make us who we are. And that part has been gratifying to see that we're still grounded, we're still Bible-based, we're still soaking it up, but we enjoy the diversity of people that have come and been part of it.
Yeah.
And they've brought their flavor in too. And so there's that. Another favorite part is seeing kids that are 40 now that we had in, you know, the 12-year-old class or 13-year-old class that have their own families and are, you know, doing fabulously as parents, as members here. We have a strong contingent of people who didn't leave. You know, that's the reality for a lot of congregations. Their kids, they grow up, they go to school somewhere, and they don't come home, or what we would call home. They go make their own home somewhere else. But we have a lot of kids that are still here 25 years later. And it's good to see them taking on positions of responsibility and things that you used to do. Now you don't have to do them anymore because they're doing them. And that has been a very fun thing to watch as well. At the end of Ephesians chapter 4, that 11 through 16 section, it talks about each part doing what they're supposed to do for the health of the body so that they can grow in Christ in love. I think we're pretty fair at that. I know we've got holes, and I know there's always going to be opportunity to do better, to be more complete, to be more mature, to have all the parts working in a healthy way. But it's all for one thing. It's to grow in Christ, to be a complete church so that we can serve our community and our world around us, that we can keep our kids safe and saved, that we can keep our old people safe and saved. I mean, that's what Union Hill is about, is a ministry to each other, a growth process. I look at the health of the congregation, and I'm just encouraged constantly by the talent and the talents that are used, by the opportunities that present us, and people say, yeah, I'll step up and I'll do that. Very seldom do we not get something done whenever we take off and we decide to do it. And that's been gratifying over the years.
Well, I appreciate just that diversity, as you said, of Union Hill, right? And all those favorite parts you listed, I think, go into that of we are a united body, going back to the language of Ephesians, and that's in our name, right?
Yep.
Union was important of it. And as we have different cultures and different ideas and thoughts and history of church experiences and traditions that were important to us, to have a body of believers be able to come in with that diversity of not only age but thoughts and make Union Hill their home is a really super cool experience to have, to use the words that you quoted me on. And part of that is due to the leadership that you and the other elders have allowed us to have, of being able to present ideas, and as long as it's biblically based or doesn't go against anything, yeah, let's try it. Let's have that freedom to do a lot of things. And so really appreciate you as one of our elders, and all of our elders that have taken that time and that opportunities to let Union Hill grow and flourish in a lot of different ways, by not just shutting something down for the sake of just, no, that's not what we do. Let's try it. If you have a ministry that you want to try, here's the place to do it at, because God's made a lot of things grow here in really cool areas. So I appreciate your leadership and wisdom and experience in bringing that history of tradition of Church of Christ here at Union Hill, and just the amount of work that you do. I think anyone that knows you knows that you're the guy that, if there has to be a job done, many times I've come into the building and you beat me here because you're working on something, whether it's physically with door frames, or even if it's like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing yet, but we're figuring out as we go. Just taking that opportunity to not only lead the flock spiritually, but taking charge of ownership of this building itself. So really appreciate and love the work that you do, Jeff.
Thanks, Caleb. It's a good place to be.
It is a good place to be. So appreciate everyone listening along, and look forward to the next story that we get to listen to. If you have any feedback or any ideas for future things, please let me know. I love seeing how this is growing and seeing the amount of people that have been listening to our stories here. So until next time, thank you.